What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Get Your Bell Rung Football Podcast. He is Kevin Reynolds. I am Bobby Wall, and we are here to talk all things football and hit you with some takes that might rattle you up a bit. On tonight's show, we'll hit some news and notes. We will talk about the NFL coaches getting canned here on Black Monday, and of course, the wild card weekend ahead of us. But first, Kevin Reynolds, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, doing pretty well. Fantasies are over, so I don't have any incessant, constant stress for 168 hours a week. So
Feels
that's
good.
good. Came in fifth in the once and done. I didn't get the three-peat. I actually won. I don't know if you looked at the scores. I actually won week 18, but
You
too little,
did.
too late. Ended up coming in fifth. A change here, a change there. I would have won, but that week 14 put the screws to me. Congrats to Mr. Tom Barnhart, Mr. Tunut, a contributor of our show, for pulling in the victory.
So let me ask you, because Mr. Barnhart, he played stud players throughout the year, and you and I have a strict policy. And when before the year starts, we put aside quite a few players, and we know we're not going to touch them. We're not touching Christian McCaffrey. We're not touching AJ Brown. We're not touching these guys until the playoffs, because the goal is to make the playoffs without them. And when you do, you have all of them, in the holster that you can use. Mr. Barnhart did not do that, and he pulled out the championship. So let me ask you, Kevin, are we doing this all wrong?
No, I don't think so. I still think it's right because I went back in and the players that I played that I had left over, if I had just played them in the right weeks, I would have won this league by 70 points. But since I had to move people around because of one or two injuries and because of that crap that happened in week 14, I put the screws to myself. Tom, he and I talked about it. He had to do this. He didn't have a choice. It's not like he played those guys because he wanted to in the regular season. He was in like 14th place. He had to play them to even make the playoffs. And then the chips fall where they may after that. So I think 80% of the time, the person with the most studs and occasionally a little bit of luck on their side, obviously, is gonna do better. But once in a while, you find this little diamond in the rough where Two-Nut played the right players, the right weeks, guys that nobody else in the league would necessarily play in any of these weeks, but he had no choice and ended up winning. And by week 18, did you look at any of the lineups some of these guys were putting in? It
Uh,
was like the ragtag of ragtag lineups, like a lineup that you wouldn't put in week 7, but that's all they had left.
right?
So he scored about 130 again, and because he and I
It
were
was
the
enough.
only two people left that had both Allen and Diggs. Diggs didn't do a whole lot; he had like 12 points, but for him, that's apparently
Over
the
the last
ceiling now.
2 months.
But we
Yeah.
also had Allen who did well. I had Achan who had 8 rushes for 55 yards in the first half, and then he decided they'd only rush him 2 more times the rest of the game. It's almost like Eagles South.
Well, Kevin, it sounds like you are just reinforcing the fact that you are a great GM and a terrible head
Yeah,
coach.
I tell people all the time that you accuse me of that, and I think you're right. Man, I did so well during the season. That week 14 just it just threw me for a loop because my guys, I got two guys that got zero. I had what's his name, Herbert get 1.6 before he got hurt again, and I ended up having to waste Tyreek and CD, which not only did I lose those points to play, so I had to move other players around because of it. So I end up playing, like, say, Jonathan Taylor in week 15 or 16, where he gets me 11 points, where he got 29 and 18, where I had him slated since week 7. Christian
Well,
McCaffrey gets hurt in the first quarter, second quarter, the week I play him. T. Higgins, 25 points a week till the week I play him, where he has 1.9. It was just one of those things.
you lose some and you lose some.
That's
You
true,
know what I mean?
but this is the first once and done league I've ever lost.
Yeah, I know.
So it hurts, painful, but hey, I'm ready for next year.
Absolutely.
Congrats to the
So,
people that did well. It's
oh,
boring
of
if the
course,
same person always wins.
I agree.
Although I wish
Well,
I
actually,
did anyway.
in my yeah, right.
Screw
In
Tuna.
in my league of record, we had I I'm either in the playoffs. I'm tied. We've been doing this league like, I don't know, 15 years, and there's three guys that are tied with the most playoff appearances. One of them is me, and I was tied with the most championships. And then we had a guy win last year, and then so he went to three championships. Him and I were tied with two, and then we had another guy who he hasn't won in a decade. 10 years ago was his last championship, and he was able to pull it out this time.
Very
I
good.
made a run late in the season, as we talked about on the show, but just missed the playoffs. Couldn't quite get in.
So I
But
started commissioning leagues in '98. I had my one league for a really long time. I gave it up and started our new league, which is now in its 12th season. The season for that, however many years that's been, 25. And I guess if you would say if that's 25 seasons, I've only ever had a losing record twice.
that's impressive.
Twice. Now I didn't make the playoffs all those years, but I've only ever had a losing record twice. But I still only won twice. I won the original league once. I won this league once. That's it. I bet of the 25 years, I bet I've made the playoffs 13, 14 times, but I've only won twice. I just, again, the
You're Mike
playoffs,
Tomlin.
my guys just sort of crap the bed. And
You have a winning record every single season, but
this year I
you
was
can't
16
only
and
get one title.
12, 16 and 12, and I was ninth in the league, ninth place of as far as record goes, ninth.
Feels top heavy.
It really was this year, big time. Injuries played such a huge role. And as our listeners know, it's a 16-team league with 17 roster spots. So when you have injuries to Anthony Richardson and Kirk Cousins, it may you end up starting Derek Carr every week. And then Derek Carr gets 6 points a week until the playoffs, where he decides he maybe is the best quarterback in the NFL when I'm not even in the playoffs. It's
Oh man.
bravo, Derek Carr.
Dude,
Bravo. Thanks for
and
screwing me.
here's the thing, man. He's gonna trick everyone next year. Whenever we get in to like fantasy drafts, you're gonna look at his, end of the year stats and be like, "Oh man, Derek Carr." Like, I don't know, should I draft him? No, you
Let them.
can't. But it's gonna happen. You watch.
Well, it's not going to happen in my league because I have him signed for $4 next year as my backup to Anthony Richardson. So I love it, Derek. Next year, the hopefully one or two times I have to play you, please
All
throw up
out.
28 points. Please don't give me your 6-pointer. That said, Jameis Winston should have been kicked off the team, fired, cut, whatever you want to call it, before they got to the locker room.
Yeah.
Am
Well,
I wrong?
it's just not going to happen in today's world.
It's not, but
If,
he should
if
have been
Tom
cut
Landry
before they
was the
got to the
coach,
locker room.
sure.
What a crock, dude! I mean, my blood was about half boiling with that. You decide you're taking over the team, that the coach's words no longer matter. I'm now the coach. I'm taking over, and he's a nobody. So why is he still on the team?
Well, he's also a free agent, so that was probably going to lead him to go ahead and tell us what happened. But his actions are probably going to lead him to not be back with the squad.
So for those who don't know, in garbage time, even garbage time, with like 30 seconds left, they had an interception return. They're already at what, 34-17. And so it's like under 30 seconds left, I believe. They return an interception to the 1. They're out there in victory formation. Okay. Jameis Winston decides that they feel bad for precious little Jamal Williams because he hasn't got to score yet this year. What? It's not like he had a $5 million bonus coming. So they actually even asked Dennis Allen and the offense coordinator if they could do it. And they said no. That's dude, it's not kosher in football to do that. So okay, if you want to, so what they do then, they go out, they decide they're going to get a victory formation, they hand the ball off and let him just plow through to score. Total BS move. My thought is, okay, I get that you got to play to the whistle. If you're going to pull that crap, at least go out there in some sort of a goal line formation. At least let the other team know, hey, we're at least trying this. To have them there not even ready for it, risking injury, and have your 260-pound running back slam through the line just to embarrass them to get a meaningless touchdown, all the while saying, I don't really care. I don't regret it. I don't care what the coaches said. We decide as a team we're going to do it. Dude, like I said, he should have been cut before he got off the field.
Did you see Arthur Smith at the end of the game when he went
should have
up
punched
to
him in the
Dennis Allen?
face because he didn't know that Dennis Allen
Right.
wasn't behind it.
Right. So
Dennis Allen's lucky he didn't get punched in the face.
so when I saw it happen, like when I saw the interaction at first, I didn't realize that Jameis Winston had gone against the coaching staff and blah blah blah. And Arthur Smith's upset. But if you go back and watch, you see like there's an interaction, and you kind of see Arthur Smith. He hears what Dennis, and he turns and he kind of turns back, and he's like,
Yeah,
"What?" And I mean, I feel like Dennis Allen at that point was like, "Dude, it wasn't me.
he
Jameis
was.
just did his own thing." And Arthur Smith is like, "What?" Like he can't believe what's happening or what happened.
So then now we have to ask, what credibility does Dennis Allen have with this team that they just do whatever they want and break? You're a football player. That's one of those unwritten rules. You just don't do that crap.
If
So
Jameis is out, then we get it. If they bring Jameis back, then I got some questions of what's going on there, and how strong Dennis
yeah,
Allen's leadership is.
yeah, it's pretty messed up. And I know nobody's going to get hurt. It's these are first world problems. We're not going to pretend it's a war or something or homelessness, children starving, obviously, but that's pretty messed up, man. There's just certain unwritten rules you don't break in sports, and that is most definitely one of them. It was really, really, really messed up, particularly that you line up in victory formation and then run a play.
That's the thing. I don't care about running up the score. If you don't want me to score, don't let
Yeah,
me. But like, I mean, you go back to Dan Marino when he did the fake spike and threw it to the end zone.
that's
They,
gamesmanship there.
right, right. You're in a position. You're in a
And they were
you know
behind.
you're in a formation
Yeah.
to do that play. The defense is lined up, correctly and everything. But when you do the victory formation, you're supposed to take a knee. That
And
because
you're
no
up
one's expecting.
17 with 30
Right.
seconds left. Pretty messed up.
Yeah. Black Monday, not as black as I thought it was going to be. Only two
No.
coaches fired today, 5 total because obviously 3 were fired in season. We have Carolina, we have Washington, Atlanta, Las Vegas, and the Chargers. Which one of these 5? And I know I asked you earlier, and I think we both said the Chargers because of Justin Herbert, but which of these 5 teams, now that we have 5, is most attractive to you? Is it still the Chargers?
As far as
If
football,
you
yes, you have Justin Herbert to mold.
How
But,
else would you find them attractive, Kevin?
well, because some people, some players, some coaches, anybody, they go to cities for the city. I want to go play in Vegas. I want to go coach in Vegas. I want to hang out in Vegas year round.
Oof, not me, man.
No, I think, and I've never even
I
been
like my
there,
life.
but I could just, oh boy, it'd be a
I've
horrible
been there
mess
a
for me
couple
to be there.
times.
But
Not
I
my
think
place.
it's very attractive. But I really think AP is going to get the job now. I think Mark Davis is going to get run out of town if he hires anybody other than like Curly Lambeau or Newt Rockney, somebody like that. Then he's going to be in trouble if he doesn't hire him.
So if you look at these 5 teams, I can make a case for 4 of them. Dude, Carolina, man,
Yeah.
that's a tough spot to go to. They only
And
have,
here,
I looked
here,
at,
can I just mention why real quick?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I have
There's
several
only
reasons.
32 of these jobs on the planet. Obviously, they are highly sought after.
I'll
But you
take it.
could make the case that you're the hot coach that they want, that it could be career suicide. You're going to go there. You might win 3 games in the next 2 years, and you'll never get a head coaching job again.
It's
It's
tough.
it's just something to think that you have to consider about going there. You are going to lose. This
They
isn't a
had the
Texans thing where you have a nucleus and can maybe turn things around. This team is not turning around. They got shut out. They're the first team I saw in like how many years? Like 19 years, 18 years or something to be shut out 2 games in a row.
so Carolina has only 2 picks, 2 drafts. So they give up the farm to get the number 1 overall pick last year. So you have a super young quarterback. You got your next pick was Jonathan Mingo, a young wide receiver. Unfortunately, this year you have 2 draft picks in the top 100. You just had the 32nd ranked offense, the worst scoring offense in the league. Well, that's all right. Your defense was better. You're 29th in the league in defense. I I've said 1,000 times on the show, Bryce Young is not the guy. I don't think he is. Maybe some people still do. Because, Sam Darnold ended up, I think Carolina, didn't they give up like a 2nd round pick for Sam Darnold? Like they
Yeah,
thought he
something
was going to
along
be
those
something.
lines.
Right. So people believe in these high draft picks.
But
you look at Carolina and you're like, well, at least, you maybe have a young team that you can help mold into the future. Nope.
nope.
In September, week 1, they had the 5th oldest roster in the league. Man, I just don't see
No. Your
the
best
positives
receiver
in
is
going
like
for
what,
it.
like 33, 34.
Right.
Who's the who's the badass defensive player they have?
Brian Burns, man, he's
Yeah,
good.
he's going, most likely. There's nothing. So again, you can go take this. If you turn around, boy, you got your meal ticket for the next 20 years. But
Well,
when you
JC
just lose,
Horn,
lose, lose, next thing you know, you're a special teams coordinator somewhere.
if you can get JC Horn healthy and Jeremy Chin's good too, I mean, there are some
Well, I mean,
pieces on
every
the
NFL team
defense, but
has a couple pieces, but they have
it's
no
not good.
depth. They have no superstars. They have a quarterback who I'm not as down on him as you are. We've got to at least give the guy a team around him.
Why? TJ Stroud didn't have one.
Yeah, but they got some decent players in that really excelled. I know. I'm not saying CJ Stroud didn't make them better. They all made each other better. But we could tell, you and I thought at the end of last year that they showed signs of being of some positivity there. I can't make any compelling case to want to take this job because on top of it, the single worst thing about this job is still there.
David Tepper.
David Tepper.
Owners,
That's
man.
not changing. So
He's a brand new owner. Like Daniel Snyder was there for like what, 20, 30 years?
yeah. Well, Tepper's been what,
Like,
like 5 or 6 now? And
has
going
it?
on
I don't
his
even think it's
fifth
I don't
coach
think it's been
already?
that long. I don't think it's been that long.
I thought it was.
Maybe. Um, I just, dude, uh, if I was a football coach, I mean,
2018.
obviously they're going to get one,
5 years
but
he's had him.
gosh,
5
it's
years
not
he's had him.
exciting. It's not an exciting spot to go to. So the Commanders, 25th ranked offense, not good. The worst scoring defense in football.
Yeah.
However, they had Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, even Curtis Samuel has, his
Ryan
moments. He's a
Robinson, only
better
his
player.
third year, had a quiet, really strong season until he got hurt.
A solid core of receivers and running backs because Antonio Gibson's got his spot, right? Um, they also have 5 draft picks in the top 100. Second,
They do.
then go 36, 40, 67, and they have pick 100. You know what? You can work with this. You got who knows what's going to happen in free agency? You never know. But you can work with 5 draft picks in the top 100, and some decent positional players like they have. One thing I'll say though, man, Montez Sweat, losing him. Chicago was giving up 24 points a game before the Montez Sweat trade. They gave up 18 points a game after that. Montez Sweat, that trade, since that time, now obviously it's not all him, but whatever changes they made on top of that trade, they got a touchdown advantage from that, from
Yeah.
one player, a touchdown. It's enormous.
So,
Ooh, it'd be
I
nice to have
assume
him.
you saw that he accomplished a feat that had never been accomplished in the history of the NFL this year, right?
He led 2 teams in sacks.
Yes, two different teams he
Yeah.
led them in sacks. That's bizarre if you really
How
think
do you
about
let a player like that go?
it. Eh,
Chase Young, I get.
They
I know
didn't
he
want
was
to
a
have
second overall
it
pick.
was the whole thing. They didn't want to have to pay him, and
What do you
uh,
mean? How much would you pay to have one less touchdown scored on you every single game?
I think their thought was we're screwed anyway. We're awful because we have Sam Howell, league leader in
He's a young
interceptions, our
player.
quarterback.
I get
I'm
it.
with you. I'll give you props about Sam Howell that at times he makes some amazing freaking throws.
Amazing.
The problem is he
Standing in the
throws up
pocket.
5 to 7
Yeah,
punts a game. Literally, he just throws
I
the
know.
ball straight up in the air, anywhere from 10 to 50 yards downfield, and just hoping a prayer, winging a prayer that somebody with a burgundy helmet on catches it.
And
It's
why did he do
really
that to Terry
weird. I've
McLaurin?
never seen a quarterback who so consistently will just throw the ball straight up. It's really odd. What does he think is going to happen?
At least when Russell Wilson did it, there was a player in the vicinity.
In the vicinity, and he'll throw it 70 yards downfield. Howell will throw it straight up and won't even make it to the first down marker. It's really odd. So they're going to spend obviously their first pick, number 2, if they don't move up on a quarterback. That's
You think,
a
unless
no-brainer.
they go out and they get a Russell Wilson or somebody like that.
They could, but I'd be surprised. I think they're going to go young here and completely rebuild. Then find a way to bring in some defensive playmaker. I don't know who it is. I don't know what position. Anybody that can
Yeah.
come in and do something on defense like Sweat did, even if it's 3 less points a game, that's better than what they're doing now.
Right.
And all of a sudden, this team can compete. Unfortunately, they have to be in a division with the Cowboys and Eagles. But I don't
I
know.
ain't
I,
too
I
worried
think
about
that they
Philly.
could turn things around. And Dan Snyder being gone makes this so much more
Yeah,
attractive.
true. Oh, definitely. Atlanta, they were 26 in offense. They were 18th in defense. So middle of the
Thank
pack
God he's
defense.
gone. I
Yep.
almost put a thing
I
on
know.
Facebook, but I didn't want to jinx it. Like thank the fantasy football gods that he is gone.
And honestly, Atlanta's got some serious positives. Okay. The defense is middle of the pack. That's fine. You can work with that. Offense, not great, but you need a
But again,
quarterback.
the defense would be 5 spots better if the offense was even
Sure.
10% better.
Yeah. But you got the 9th best run game in football. And you got some serious young playmakers. Kyle Pitts, you got Drake London, Bijan Robinson, obviously a first round pick last year. And they have 4 draft picks in the first 100, 8th, 43rd, 74th, and 79th. You can do something with that. You can continue building and getting some young talent there. So,
And it's a division ripe for the taking.
oh my gosh, no one wanted it. The
I
Buccaneers
would
just happened to.
you could definitely make the argument they have the most talented overall roster in that division, the NFC South. They just had an awful, awful, awful coach who does not know how to use
Yeah,
his pieces. Is
you could
not a
argue that.
chess player. He's a straight up checkers player. Great coordinator, awful, awful head coach.
Las Vegas, 23rd in offense. I feel like they were. This was kind of quiet, but they were the ninth best scoring defense in football. And I feel like I didn't know that. I didn't realize that their defense was maybe as good as it was. They do have the 4th oldest roster. When it started the football season, but they had Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs. We'll see what happens. I think a few weeks ago, I don't know, a month or 2 ago, I think he said he'd like to come back.
Yes, he
And
does.
it's always easier to keep your guys than it is to go out there and bring in new ones. Max Crosby, you and I both love to death.
What a
That guy's
beast.
one of the best defensive players in football. They have 3 picks in the top 100, so that's one per round. That's normal.
But they're the
Antonio
same thing.
Pierce, in my opinion,
They need a
give
solid
him the job.
quarterback and one more defensive playmaker, probably in the defensive backfield. And all of a sudden, you've got a team. Plus, you get to be in Vegas. The one thing these teams don't have that the Chargers have is a quarterback.
Justin Herbert. They also have the 6th youngest roster, which is helpful. 21st offense, 24th defense, and again, just 1 pick each in the first 3 rounds. But again, Herbert is the huge draw there. But man, if I'm a head coach, I don't know. The Chargers, obviously, Herbert is attractive, but I kind of like Atlanta in a weak division because all you got to do is make the playoffs, and who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Ask Eli Manning. And your defense is already pretty good. You've got some really good young guys.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, you can make a good argument for pretty much any team, any of these squads.
Not Carolina, man.
Well, yeah, except well, I thought we already
Okay.
covered that.
We're not
Yes,
talking about
the
that.
other 4, yes, we can make anything. Like I said, I don't really think the Raiders one's going to be up for grabs.
I
Again,
hope it's not.
unless
Honestly, I
Lombardi
hope it's not.
comes out of death and retirement, that has to go to AP. But the other ones, it's anybody's guess. I mean, you saw the litany of names today that they want to interview.
Washington, they are trying to interview
Everyone
everyone.
on earth.
Good for them.
But they're already saying that they're not even going to bother until they hire a GM or whatever first.
And I get it. I get it. They're
What's the
trying
rush? What's the freaking rush?
Well, they want to have first dibs.
Yeah,
They
but
want to get
there
to
is
everyone.
no it guy this year. There's just not. There's not one guy in the league that I can think of like, God, that's the guy you've got to get right now.
I tell you what, Detroit fans out there, listen, I'm telling you from experience, if you are a Detroit Lions fan, please hear me out. Write letters, send it to your Lions, send it to Dan Campbell, your congressman, whoever. But do not lose both of your coordinators because they are both going to get interviews. And as an Eagles fan, you do not want to lose both of your coordinators. It is a bad, bad deal for your team.
It hasn't panned out.
No,
Hasn't
it
panned out for the
has.
Eagles.
They're the worst 11-6 team I've ever seen, I think.
They really are. I mean, it's
Um,
a tale of two seasons so far.
before we get in this, I got one more thing on all this coaching. So trade talks are fun. You know, I love the off season. I love hypothetical situations. And you had brought up, what if Mike Tomlin is traded from the Steelers? That could happen. So I was talking to some listeners of the show and friends of the show, and what trading coaches, does that actually happen? And I'm like, well, yeah, just last year, Sean Payton got traded from New Orleans to Denver. It was like Payton and a third round pick for a first and a second, right? Um, Herm Edwards was traded from the Jets to the Kansas City Chiefs, fourth round pick. Bruce Arians was traded from Arizona to Tampa Bay for a sixth round pick. Mike Holmgren, I don't remember this. He was traded from Green Bay to Seattle for a second round pick. Obviously, Bill Belichick was traded from the Jets to the Patriots, a first, fourth, and a seventh. Bill Parcells was traded before that from the Patriots to the Jets. A third round pick, a fourth round pick, a second round pick, and a first round pick. And that goes in order of years. It was, future draft picks. The big one, though, that I actually forgot about was John Gruden.
Absolutely. And they won the Super
Was
Bowl because of it.
was right traded from the Raiders to Tampa Bay.
And then beat the
Tampa Bay
Raiders in the Super Bowl the very next year.
Tampa Bay gave up a first round pick and a second round pick, another first round pick, another second round pick, and $8 million. They threw in $8 million.
But
So
paid
John,
off because they won the Super Bowl against
100%.
the team they traded with.
It doesn't matter what you do. If you win the Super Bowl, it paid off.
Absolutely.
So here's a trade proposal for you with your boy Mike Tomlin. What if, and I want to hear your thoughts on Chicago and on Pittsburgh. The Chicago Bears were to trade away Justin Fields and the 9th overall pick for Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, that's a
For
lot.
me, it's a no-brainer for Chicago because, I mean, they're getting the best coach they've had since Mike Ditka, probably. And I'm not even sure how good of a coach Mike Ditka was. He just had awesome, awesome players on his team. But Tomlin's proven himself over and over again, all the winning seasons in Pittsburgh.
He's so
And
good, he gets away with cheating.
okay, oh my gosh, you did it. You found a way to slide it in. Well done. Um, and if you're Mike Tomlin, now, he probably doesn't really have a say in it, or, I'm sure Pittsburgh would give him some kind of say, but you go to Chicago, whose defense was middle of the road, which is fine, but you also get the first overall pick in the draft. That's got to be a little bit enticing.
I would
Um,
love all that if Fields was staying. I've grown fond of him. There's been no bigger critic of Justin Fields the last couple of years than me. But I don't know. Something's really changed when I watch him play. It just looks different. And I think they're going to make a huge mistake if they let him go. Pete King
well,
doesn't think they're going to. He thinks they're going to trade the pick. And what's our word? Trade ravage? Trade
Trade Rabbits,
ravish
yeah, Trade Rabbits, yeah.
another team so that they can move up to get him, whether it's Washington, New England, the Giants, Tennessee, Atlanta, whoever. Is somebody's going to jump. And they could become a true freaking competitor, dude, if they could do that. And then still find a way to get Marvin Harrison Jr., a little defensive help. Them and the Lions could own the NFC.
So if you're Pittsburgh in this hypothetical scenario, does it work for you? Is it enough to trade away Mike Tomlin?
If you mean just a
Justin
pick and
Justin Fields in the 9th overall pick. Because Kenny Pickett's not the answer. He was benched for Mason Rudolph.
I mean,
Okay.
I wouldn't have a problem with it as far as the Steelers go because, okay, Tomlin's never had a losing season. What, 17 straight winning seasons? That is impressive. I mean, granted, he had to cheat at least once or twice to do it, but he's only won one Super Bowl, and that wasn't even his team. That was Cowher's team. So it's not the the Steelers are like the picture of mediocrity. Again, the thing that you and I say we don't like. A team that's good every year, but not great enough to actually win. I want Super Bowls. I don't care about making the playoffs. That means crap. So get rid of
Andy,
him. Bring some people in.
this is Philadelphia with Andy Reid. Andy Reid went to 4 NFC championship games in a row,
Yeah.
right? And they got rid of him. He went to the Super Bowl, didn't win, got rid of him. They just needed a change. And it didn't work out at
I
first.
say it all the
They
time, don't I? No matter how good
yeah.
coach is, sooner or later, you just need a new voice. And if the
So
Steelers, and it's Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh Steelers fans are basically losers anyway. So they accept mediocrity. They're just happy to go around bragging about their winning seasons and their coach that tries to trip punt returners. They don't care. Whereas we Ravens fans, we want to win
oh
Super Bowls. We
gosh.
don't accept mediocrity. We want to win Super Bowls. You feel the same as an Eagles fan, right? Do you accept anything
Yes,
less than oh, we
I would.
made the Super Bowl. Who gives a crap? You're just the number
You
one
did.
loser.
Last year was the worst. The
Yeah,
absolute
exactly. We want to win, making the playoffs, having a winning record. What, like I said about my fantasy, 25 years I've had 2 losing seasons. I'm not bragging about that. I still suck because I only won twice. I want to win.
I didn't see this happening. I like it.
It's
I
crazy.
like
I can't stand the
when you wake
Steelers.
up.
I always liked
Obviously,
House. It's a good show, but I don't really need Tomlin on it. He doesn't really add a lot. It's just, I don't know. Jacoby Jones, he should be mailing him like
okay.
gag gifts
I don't
every year.
know. I um obviously the Steelers have only had what 3 coaches in the last 65 years or something
Impressive.
ridiculous. It really, really is.
You
But
can almost make the case he's a horrible coach. He's had 17 winning seasons and only won 1 Super Bowl from somebody else's roster.
you know that I like chaos. So this for me would be
Oh,
a
that
chaos,
would,
right?
yeah,
I
that
know,
would throw 2 divisions on their upside
right?
down. Yeah,
I would
that would
love
be
it.
pretty crazy.
Uh, the smart money is against this
No, there's
idea
no
of saying,
chance. Not after he turned things around there and ended up making the playoffs.
cannot believe they won 10 games with that roster. Really can't.
I mean, the last game was against the teams, obviously, that Ravens all their backups, but still, they won. They had a pretty weak schedule. They won some close games. More power to them.
Yeah, I know. I know. Or especially if they go out and they bring in someone like Russell Wilson. I mean,
It certainly couldn't hurt.
whew.
Big
All right.
question is what are they going to do without TJ Watt this week?
Yeah, he's probably not going to play,
I
right?
can't
I mean, we've
imagine
not
playing.
heard
If he
anything.
does, I can't imagine him being overly effective.
All right, well, let's get into these games. And we'll go in order. First one, Cleveland is at Houston. 11-6 Browns at the 10-7 Houston Texans. The Browns were 11th in offense. The Texans were 13th. And dude, the Cleveland Browns were 14th in scoring defense, and the Texans were 11th in scoring defense. Why did I think the Browns defense was so much better than maybe it actually was?
I don't
I
know.
mean,
They had
that
a couple
defense,
games where they sort of got screwed. Um, Now by scoring defense, you're talking about points given up, or you're talking about fantasy points scored.
no, I am talking about real fantasy is over. We are
You're
talking
talking about
real
points given up on the season. Yeah,
correct.
they
They're
had a
tied
couple
for
games where they
12th.
gave up 30 some inexplicably. And that sort of made it a little crazy. That said, many people, experts, critics, think the Browns maybe have the best defense left in the playoffs. Um,
Wow.
some would
Kansas,
say the Ravens, some
Kansas
would
City,
say Dallas, some would say, and no,
City
they're
too.
not. Nobody's going to say the Niners. Uh, but they're up there. Like I said, they're the only team in the AFC that truly scares me. That doesn't mean I think the Ravens will kill everybody else, but they're the one team I do not want to play. Uh, I'd be, I'm hard pressed for me to pick Houston in an upset in this game.
I agree. If I'm betting money, I'm betting on the Browns, but
What's the spread? Do you have it in front of you?
I don't know, but I can get up here. Dude, how great of a story. I mean, honestly, the Texans are already playing with house money because
They sure are.
They win 3 games last year, something like that. And then right now they're a 10-win season in the first year with a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback. I mean, if you are a Texans fan, and I know some, and we talk, and they could not be more excited. The Browns are 3-point favorites, so
Yeah.
it's what's that, a 6-point swing because they usually
Dude,
give the home team.
Lovey Smith's whole plan backfired. Somehow, this
I
whole thing of
know.
putting the screws to them
We
has
loved it for Lovey.
fell in their favor, and
I
here they
know.
are in the playoffs.
I know. So you're picking Cleveland?
Absolutely.
I'm picking them with my brain, but my heart wants Houston.
That said, I think Houston's going to dominate the division for the next 4 years at least.
Oh yeah, man. At least.
Tennessee's going still downhill farther. Indy, I don't know when Richardson comes back. If he can play like he was before he got hurt, they at least have a chance. In Jacksonville, I don't even know what that is. That's Eagles type stuff there.
What they lose 5 of their last 6 or
Yep.
6 of the last
Them
7?
and them and the Eagles both lost 5 of their last 6.
They had a
They were 8-3,
stranglehold.
tied for number 1 in the conference, and then
They
lost
had
5 or 6.
right, number one, right. They had a stranglehold on the division, and they were tops in the conference, the
Yep.
AFC as well. My gosh, I don't know what what is he saying to his team, man?
I don't think it's him. I just think all these guys are everyone outside of freaking Evan Ingram of all people um is completely underachieved. Did you see he only missed the all-time record for tight end receptions by 2? He had like
Well, Zach Ertz,
112
right?
catches.
Zach Ertz has a record, doesn't he?
Yeah, like 114. He missed it by 2.
Yeah. Which is crazy because you have receivers to throw to. I know Christian Kirk, got hurt a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
but Calvin
Calvin
Ridley's
Ridley's
out there.
very hit or miss.
Travis Etienne's a pass catching running back.
He is.
Look, good for you, former he who shall not be named.
Yeah, no, he's great. It's been
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. All right. Miami Dolphins are at the Kansas City Chiefs. Poor Dolphins. They were the 1 seed. Like they had a chance at the, I guess not the 1 seed, the 2 seed. They had a chance at the 2 seed. All they had to do was win. Instead, they lost, which
They
dropped
had a
them to
chance at the
this.
1, not this week, but if they'd have beat the
Right,
Ravens,
right.
they'd have been the
Yeah.
number 1 seed going into this week.
2 weeks ago, had a chance at the 1 seed. They lost. This past week, they had a chance at the 2 seed and they lost. And they dropped all the way to the 6 seed. So now they have to go to Kansas City, which is not scary,
No,
mind you.
it's not the Kansas City we've all grown to
But
know and love.
I'd much rather have a home game against Pittsburgh than an away game at Kansas City.
Have you
That's a
seen
tough
the
place to
weather
play.
forecast?
I haven't. I hope it's a lot of snow.
13 degrees,
Oh
40
no.
mile an hour winds at kickoff.
Dude, okay. So I was going to tell you I was going to pick Miami by 4. And now I think I'm
Negative,
going to pick
nope, negative single digits wind chill at the beginning of the game.
Kansas City
Kickoff.
by 2. I don't know, dude, because Miami can run the football. If
But they have
Mostert
nothing.
comes in there
They have nothing
healthy,
left. Everybody's hurt. And they just lost even more this week. They just it's like
and Ginkle's
the
out.
walking wounded. They just and now you got to take this 80-degree team and go make them play in the -9 wind chill in the dark. It's I guess it's hard for me to imagine Miami even making this game competitive, except for the fact that the Chiefs receivers already have stone hands. Now they got to try and catch a frozen rock.
Well, it's
They're
interesting.
gonna be bouncing into the stands. It's gonna be the classic thing we talk about how there's like setting the ball.
Yeah. It's see, and this man, this sucks because the Dolphins have the second best offense in football, and Kansas City has the second best scoring defense. So having them go off against each other, and then Kansas City's offense is 15th, but the defense for Miami is 22nd. So it's like
Yeah.
it's a perfect matchup, right? Strength against strength, mediocrity
Yeah.
against mediocrity.
In case he got a week off for all
Man,
their stars, Miami did not. That's why some more of them got hurt.
that weather.
And that weather that's going to be tough for an 80-degree team going and playing in the negative wind chill digits. It's really it's going to be tough. Not
All
for
right, so
Tyreek, because he played in it for what, 6 years?
yeah, no, I'm not worried about Tyreek. The Kansas City Chiefs are 3.5 point favorites.
I can't believe it's not more, but
It's only half a point, right? Because
they,
you know,
I guess it's matches about the number of drops they'll have in the game. The probably over under on that's about 3.5.
you probably
Yeah.
over. I'm going with the over. All right. Let's see. The Pittsburgh Steelers are at the Buffalo Bills. 10-7 versus 11-6. Already mentioned. I don't know how the Steelers won
Can
10
we just
games.
say real quick about Buffalo? 5 weeks ago,
Dude,
you and
they're the
I
exact
called them maybe the best team in the AFC, but would not make the playoffs because they were 11th. They had to run this gambit of freaking murderous teams. They go 5 and 0 and end up the number 2, tied for the
they are
fifth best record in the league.
they are the Bills turned into the Eagles and the Eagles turned into the Bills.
Yes.
It's the exact opposite. The Bills did what they had to do and dominated. Imagine if the Bills had the Eagles record at the time that they just decided to rip off these 5 wins
Yeah.
and they'd only have like 2 losses on a
Yeah.
year. Like it's just a shame. But I'm telling you right now, this Bills team is rolling. They This isn't going to be particularly close, I don't think. The Steelers have the 28th ranked offense in football. 28th, and somehow they won 10 games. Buffalo has the fourth best defense. This could be a shutout. It's not going to be. Pittsburgh might get 6 points, but
I
it's not
completely
going to
agree.
be
It's
good.
not going to be competitive. I'd be
And
very
I know,
surprised if
listen,
this game isn't pretty much decided by midway through the third quarter.
Steelers fans are going to be like, but, hey, sixth best scoring defense, blah, blah, blah. You probably don't have TJ Watt. If you do, he's not 100% healthy. And I'm sorry, Pittsburgh. It's just not going to happen.
No, is this has the makings of a true nightmare for the Steelers.
It does. And I can't imagine how excited you are to see it.
Oh, it'll be like I told you before the show. At this point of the year, everything to now for me is just gravy. There's only two things I want: the Ravens to win the Super Bowl, the Steelers to not win the Super Bowl. If those things, I know the Ravens probably won't, but if they do, great. As long as the Steelers don't, I can still go with my head hung
So
high.
since the season started, the Ravens are going to spend 2 weeks where they're not playing football, and you got wins both of those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because if you remember back then, was it like every other team in the AFC North lost the week that you had a bye, or
Yeah, it
it
was
was
them.
something
They
crazy like
lost.
that.
Kansas City lost. Miami lost. All these teams lost to actually make a chance for the Ravens to get the number one
Yeah.
seed. That said, you know how much I don't like that. This whole sitting already, because in 2019 it did not work. And I don't know that it'll be any different this time, especially if they have to play Cleveland, which is very likely.
Yes, it sure is. Green Bay, 9-8 against the
Dude,
12-5
I don't
Dallas
even
Cowboys.
I don't even want
Oh,
to talk about Green because I just don't get it. Dude ended up number 2 in the league in touchdown passes.
Jordan Love,
Yeah, number 2 behind Dak.
to Dak. Right. There we go. The two best quarterbacks in
What
football.
in the world is going on?
And listen to this. The Green All of these offenses and defenses in this game are top 12 in the league. Green Bay has the 12th best offense and the 10th best defense, and Dallas has the best offense and the 5th best defense.
I'm looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be awesome.
The Cowboys
I'll
are
be hammered by then. My niece and her family are coming up to visit for the first time like a year and a half, and they stay here. So her husband and I will just be drinking, playing board games, watching football all day. So I'm excited for this game and the one after it.
the Cowboys are undefeated at home,
Yes,
but you have said this numerous times. You never know what Dallas team is going to show up.
you don't, but
It,
they're home. They won what, 16 in a row at home now? Something like that.
well, every streak comes to an end,
That's true.
and but listen, if I'm putting money on it, I'm putting my money on the Cowboys. But
What's the
that
spread?
being said,
5, 6?
I've also put my money against Green Bay constantly throughout this season.
Because we don't trust Jordan Love yet. He proves us wrong every week.
I know the Cowboys are over a touchdown favorite. They are a 7.5 point
Okay.
favorite. Buffalo's a 10-point favorite, by the way.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
I don't know, man. This if I had to pick an upset, it would be this one.
Oh, really? Because mine's the next game. And I
Oh,
hate saying it.
don't.
I know, I don't want to say it, but I'm being a
Oh,
realist here, buddy. Not being a
Matt,
pessimist, I'm just being a realist.
I know.
I
Matt
want
Stafford.
Detroit to win. I want the Detroit to make it to the Super Bowl, lose to the Ravens. But this game scares you. I've been telling you for weeks that the Rams are the real deal.
Have.
You keep telling me I'm crazy, but they're the freaking
You
real
have.
deal, and I do not want to play them.
It's it's impressive what can happen when your team finally gets healthy. You
It's
get all your playmakers out there on the field at once,
yeah,
man. It's Matt Stafford going home.
they'll be all jacked up. I hope that they at least give him a brief applause before they
They
boo the
will.
hell out of him
Oh,
the
no,
rest
no,
of the
no.
game.
I'm telling you right now, Detroit fans, I know a bunch of them. When Stafford walks into that building, he will get nothing but love.
I hope
They
so.
love Matt Stafford. I am sure of it. Rams are going to Detroit. 10-7 Rams, 12-5 Detroit Lions. The eighth ranked offense and the fifth ranked offense for the Lions. The Rams had the 19th best defense, and the Lions had the 23rd best defense. So, again, another very evenly matched team. Uh, I I'm not excited for this one because I want the Lions to win so bad.
Me too.
They're 3.5-point favorite.
Here's a question. I know there's an outside chance you'll play, but why didn't the Lions sign Zach Ertz yesterday?
I don't know. That's a great question.
You talk about a gaping hole in your offense all of a sudden. The guy who just set every rookie mark in history for a freaking tight end, and he's hurt, probably not going to play. They're pretending that he might, but I don't think he's going to play this week. Why not
Boy,
bring in
that
a veteran that knows the game?
and guess
Has played the Rams twice a year for 2 years in a row now. Bring in the guy that knows what to do.
and what if down the road you have to play the Eagles? He
A
knows
guy that
that
he
team
played
pretty
there
well.
for 8 years or whatever it was. Yeah. So what has Zach Ertz done that all these teams have just bailed on the guy? I don't know. Did he run over Roger Goodell's dog?
Is he the Joe Flacco of tight ends?
I don't know.
Every
Well, I
team
don't know
could
if we're
use
ever going
him.
to find out because nobody will bring him in.
Man, that's a good call. That's something that I did not think of.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't understand why you wouldn't. At worst, he's going to sit on your sideline.
Right.
At best, he might come out and get 6 catches for 70 yards.
Interesting. And you know I mean, it's not like he's
It's
been
not like
playing
he's out
football
of
for a
shape. He
long
just got
time.
cut a few weeks ago.
Right. And he's going to be able to, you know, you can at least give him a solid handful of plays for him to get out there. And he's a
He's
good
a veteran.
blocker
He's
for the
played.
run game.
Yeah, he's done to run every route there is. You got a veteran quarterback that they'll be able to get a report probably in 2 hours of practice. I don't understand why you wouldn't do it. And maybe they will. Who knows? But this game scares the crap out of me, brother.
All right, Kevin, you got $100. So you putting it on?
Tampa. No.
Okay, no,
Yes.
no.
No.
Rams are the Lions.
Yes.
Wait,
Oh, I
on the
thought
who
you
you-
were. Here we go. I thought you were saying, like, here we go. We're moving on to the next game. $100. I'm picking Detroit because I'll
do?
gladly. I want it.
Yeah,
Even if I lose $100, I'm picking Detroit.
okay, me too.
If it's a
Uh,
10,000, then I'm not sure.
I worry about Dan Campbell only because when he got penalized on that 2-point conversion, he was stubborn enough to stick with it, and stubborn does not work.
No, it does not. So hopefully he won't go for two from the seven. Um, I just don't know. So much of their thing is Jared Goff. And obviously Sean
Yeah.
McVay knows Jared Goff inside and freaking out.
But the Lions also know Stafford. I mean,
That's
there are
true.
coaches
That's
that
true.
have been around since he was there.
Some, yeah. I mean, it's a little different. He's been going a little longer, and well, I don't know, I guess about the same. Have they both been
They've been
going for
gone
2 years? Was
exactly
it
the
the
same
same
amount of time.
season they did
They
that? They flip
they flip
flopped.
flop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. So that's the same. But McVay definitely knows him because he's still there.
yeah.
Campbell, that's a little different. But no, you're right. Both of them know tendencies. I don't know. Sean McVay, I don't know, dude. Detroit runs, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, all the playmakers they have, it all runs through Goff. If Goff is having an off game, they're in real trouble. And I hope he doesn't. I hope he kicks their butts.
Gosh, that'd be so great. Man, I would love that. Um, Let me look at one quick defensive stat for the Rams. I want to see what their run defense looks like because if they have the Rams run defense is not great. Oh, hold on. Yeah, no, never mind. They're good. I had it flipped around. They're 12th against the run.
And I think it's been
So
particularly good like the last 6 weeks.
yeah, so that's not it's not great.
They're
Let's move
like you
before I
said
get bad.
earlier, how good can you be when you're healthy?
Right, right.
They're aside from Puka, their overall roster isn't that different from last year. Matter of fact, they lost Jalen Ramsey, who we both
Yeah,
think
but
is overrated, but he's still Jalen Ramsey.
yeah,
Yet last year, hurt all the time. They didn't even have a winning record. You called it. This year, all you do is add one guy, and look where they are because they're healthy.
right. Yeah. All right. Eagles at Tampa Bay
Hey, buddy.
Buccaneers. One team. Talk about a skid. With a 1-5 in their last 6 games.
They
Pretty
are, and the one
embarrassing.
they won was that when they barely beat the Giants.
Yeah. Buccaneers 9-8. The Eagles, seventh best offense in football. That's great. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 20th best offense. But they have the seventh best defense, which is good for them because the Eagles, they have the 28th ranked Pittsburgh offense is the worst ranked offense or defense in all of the playoffs, except for the Eagles' 30th ranked scoring defense. It's bad, man. Yeah. And the problem's is secondary. So if I'm playing playoff fantasy football, I am starting Mike Evans and I'm starting Chris Godwin and I'm starting Baker Mayfield and I'm letting it roll, man, because I can't see how the Eagles can stop this passing game.
Yeah, and we talked for the show. I'm playing in a once and done fantasy playoff league that you have declined, and I'm really I can pick any of these, what, 6 games? I could pick one of 12 quarterbacks. I'm probably picking Baker Mayfield because he should
Why
eat
not?
these guys up. He's at
Yes.
home, and there's a good chance even if he throws for 4 TDs, he might still lose. Mike Evans, yes, thank you. Rashad White, yes, thank you. I don't care because
Yes.
even
Oh, yeah.
recently their run defenses suck too.
You,
Saquon ate them freaking up on the ground and in the air.
Philly has the 10th best run defense on the year, but that's only because for the first 12 games, 10, 12 games,
They were lights
they
out.
really, they
They
really
were number
shut.
one for a
Yeah,
long time.
right. Dude,
I don't know what's happened. I told you I read Pete King today. He says in his 50 some years of covering the NFL, this is unlike any just free fall from any team he's ever seen. It just doesn't make any sense. Nick Sirianni might be coaching for, as crazy as it sounds, I know you don't believe this, but might be coaching for his job. I watched the game. You didn't watch the Giants game because you're just checked out with the whole thing. You're so
dude, they're so bad.
disillusioned right now. But I watched this game. The one overarching theme I got from the Eagles is we just want this season to be over. They
They
look like they
definitely want,
don't care. They just want
and
that. They just want it done. I just want to
I,
go home and be done with this because
I
this
did
is
watch,
awful.
I did watch some of the game. And if this game was important, if it meant something, because they were locked into the 5 seed. Luckily for them, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the worst team in the playoffs for the NFC outside of maybe Philly right now. I understand they have an 11-6 record, but that doesn't matter. It's who the team is right now.
Right.
And who the team is right now, the two worst playoff teams are going up against each other, in my opinion. The Rams are better than both these teams. The Green Bay Packers are probably better than both of these
I would put
teams.
the Packers slightly ahead of them both. Yes. Slightly.
Right. Okay. So we're on the same page here. Um, so the Eagles got lucky they're not the 2 seed. because if they had to play Green Bay, I would pick Green Bay. I told you before the show, you are
Yeah,
51-49 towards Philly. I'm 55-45 Philly. So give me 4% homerism, so
right.
whatever. Um, but I don't feel great. What's the spread, do you think, without looking? I know what it is. What do you think it is?
I'd say Philly by like 2 or 3.
Three, Philly by three. Yep. And honestly, it's probably how it's going to go if I had to guess.
Yeah.
But
Now you
that's going
mentioned
to
the
be
Giants game, how it didn't matter a lot. Although it did, but it didn't. But they were
if it
down
did matter,
24-0 before
dude,
they pulled everybody.
if it did matter and that's what they put out there,
Well, that's what I'm
I,
saying. It was 24-0
I
when they were in.
where
They
where does
played
that
better with the second team. They
get
played better,
Mariota?
except for Mariota's pick six. They played better with the second team. Julio Jones, Mr. Butterfingers, balls falling off his hands. Mariota with the worst ball in the league. It comes out like a wounded duck almost every time. But they were down 24-0 with their starters in. Now I know that Swift didn't play, he's injured. I know Waddle, but that
Play was
that doesn't
out.
mean injuries are part
I
of the
know.
game. Other than that, they had their team in and they were still being brutalized. 30 yards here, 20 yards there. Saquon Barkley for like a 49-yard reception. It
Yeah.
just him just bulldozing people into the end zone. They just look, I'm just saying, they got the skill. They just look at a team that just is resigned to their fate. Like, this isn't working. Let's just get this over. Let's retool for next year.
If any
And maybe
team
I'm
needed a
completely
bye,
wrong. I'm just saying what it looked like.
dude, if they're going to get rolling, they better start now.
And did you see
'Cause
Jalen Hurts' freaking finger?
yeah, it didn't look
It
great,
looked
but
like one of those old snake things that you can twist all around. I mean, it was like
yeah,
jointed
yeah,
like back and forth.
yeah.
I mean, how can anybody with a finger that badly dislocated just throw some tape on it and then go out and pretend that they can throw a perfect ball next week? You can't. It doesn't work. The human body doesn't work that way. Even like that, yes, he's a million times better than us. True. But he's not going to be quite himself either. There's going to be an interception or two that might not have been if his finger hadn't been bent 78 degrees the wrong way.
I have a glass half full take. You ready?
You never do with the Eagles. It's 99% empty all the time.
I have one.
Okay, I'm interested to hear this.
Jalen Hurts is hurt. He has trouble throwing, and all of a sudden, they run the football.
That would be glorious for the Eagles, wouldn't it? They would
Can you
probably win by
imagine?
30.
Maybe,
But
maybe.
as you and I discussed, I think last night or today, Tampa Bay at the snap could take all 11 players, run to both sidelines, and they would still throw.
You're
It wouldn't
probably right.
matter. They'll still throw.
I
That's
know.
just the Eagles now. They're, although maybe arguably the best running team in all of football behind maybe the Ravens, they just won't do it.
Buccaneers have the fifth best rushing defense in the league on the season.
Yeah,
But hey, I'm telling you,
they got some big boys up front.
they do. But Vita Vea, keep it away from the Eagles. Have quick dude like Swift. He can
But
get to the edge.
dude,
Kenneth Gainwell.
we've talked about this. This isn't like week 3 and we're like, oh, they're going to get it.
I
They'll turn
know.
this around. We're at week 19. Nothing's going to change.
Yes, Hurts is hurt. It's changing this week. I have confidence.
I think all it's going to mean is they're going to have
Go
more designed
Birds.
runs for him, to be honest.
Honestly, great. It's fine.
Okay.
That's what happened last year. How did last year work out?
They
They got
lost in the
scared.
Super
Man.
Bowl when he had a
They,
fumble six,
they got scared.
and they had a
They
fumble
don't. They want to
six.
keep their franchise. They paid him a bunch of money. Don't want him to get hurt.
But what about the fumble
Oh,
six?
blah, blah, blah,
You weren't acknowledging
blah,
it, so
blah,
I had to
blah,
keep saying it.
blah, blah,
Dude,
blah, blah.
I don't know.
I
I
know.
think this could go one of two ways. Philadelphia either wins a close game or they get straight blown out, like 35-10.
Yeah. So they win by less than a touchdown, or they lose by double digits. You agree?
I really think that's how it's going to know. I think you're right.
Yeah.
And then next week, that's
The,
what, 5? They would end up.
this is it for this week.
Is
For these two teams, this week is it.
most
They're
likely, yeah, because they got to
they're
play the
lo-
big boys after
yeah.
that.
Unless wait, um, Would Tampa Bay play? No, they wouldn't play Green Bay. So yeah, this is it.
No, there's no way Tampa could play
Yeah,
Green Bay
right.
because if
So
Green
that
Bay would win, they would
right.
automatic. They're the 7, right? Yeah, so they
Yeah,
would automatically play the 49ers no matter what.
yeah, right. So that's it for these teams.
So I'm going to ask you one question because as much as I don't really care for the Eagles, I've always been a big supporter of Sirianni right from the beginning.
More than
You
me.
had some growing pains with him, but
Yeah.
you got on board. Are you 100% confident that he will be the Eagles head coach week 1 next year? Or do you
98.
think if they go into this game and get embarrassed, there's a chance they're going to move on? Because I've heard more and more. I was reading today, this players only meeting meant
Yeah.
more than what people are leading on.
I think Sirianni goes in if they go and they lose here, and they lose by 12. He goes into the meeting with Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie and says, "Look, here's the deal, guys. I lost both of my coordinators last year. That's tough to come back from any coach. We had some growing pains. I figured out I got it. This is my plan going into next year. I'm gonna, fire this guy, or we should go after this guy, something. They're gonna keep him around. I mean, he was in the Super Bowl
Get
last
me some
year.
corners that are under the age of
Oh,
50.
yeah. Like he needs to look at Howie and be like, come on, man.
Yeah,
Like,
we need some here.
get
Because
me
we
out of
talked about it. You
these
go from
old free
almost say
agents.
the all-time record in sacks to having less than half of that
Right.
really exposed these older corners.
Darius
Really
Slay and James
exposed them.
Bradbury. I mean, let's give me something we can work with here.
Right. I'm with you. I don't think if they lose, he's out. I think if they go out there and play like they did against the Giants, that meeting with Howie and Lori
Oh,
is not
yeah.
going to be pleasant. I'm not saying they'll
Okay.
fire him, but if they go out here and lose 35-10, I'd put it at 50-50 that they might say, you know what? You've lost the team and sorry, but maybe it wasn't you all along. Maybe it was those two coordinators who both found marginal success this year with awful
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just something to think about. What's that whole saying? Where there's smoke, there's fire.
We'll know in a week.
And there's various outlets, at least broaching this subject.
Honestly, they play on Monday. So at 9:52, which is what time it is right now, on Monday, we may know.
We might
It could
fire
be
him before
20,
fire him
24
before
to
the fourth
3
quarter.
Buccaneers. Just don't bring him out at half.
I sitting here right now, I'd say 90% he'll be their head coach week 1 next
Okay.
year.
All right.
I really don't think he's going to get fired, but if they play like they did against the Giants, those numbers are going to start to
Yeah.
skew a bit.
All right, man. Anything else from you, sir, before we
I
get out of here?
have to mention at least once, I have to talk about your porn stash because the over under before the show was 0.5 mentions. I bet the over one is higher than 0.5. I'm not sure what you owe me. I think it was a gentleman's wager. Please explain to those watching why you look like such a weirdo.
If you're not watching the video on YouTube or Facebook, maybe you want to. Kevin has a stupid Ravens hat on his
There's
head.
nothing stupid about it.
It's dumb. He's got a tongue hanging out. Do birds even have tongues?
It's a happy Raven because he wants to win a Super Bowl. Ed
Right.
Reed vouches for him.
I also had a beard and decided I'm over it. So I took care of the beard but left the stash. And because I did have a fairly long beard, it's a fairly serious mustache. Um, I don't think Kevin enjoys it as much as I do.
No, because you look like a fireman slash porn star. I know you're not a fireman.
Do you have a fire I need to put out, Kevin?
Yeah, in my pants.
Okay. Oh man.
What TV show? Oh, that's from Beavis and Butthead in like
Oh,
1992 or something.
right. That's probably really hitting with the
But dude,
younger
that's
crowd.
2 mentions now, and maybe even more if we're going to keep going with it. So for those of you watching, Bobby looks truly ridiculous. I hope that you don't look at the video and have to see it in your nightmares. And I can only hope and pray that by this time next week, it will be gone.
We'll
But I
see.
imagine he's just going to let it grow thicker just to creep me out a little bit more. Dude, your
Uh,
mustache and my beard would go together perfectly.
It would. It really would. Wait.
The other guy would be just this clean shaven little pretty boy.
Okay. Folks, thanks for listening, I guess. Check us out, Get Your Bell Rung Football Podcast, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, and we'll see you in a week. Get excited for this wild card weekend. Football is almost over, man. Only a couple weeks left.
I know
So
I'm pumped for this week, buddy. I'm
me
gonna look
too.
forward to
Me too.
every one of these games actually interests me. There's not a
Yes,
single
I
one that
agree.
was like, well, who cares? I'm
Yep.
interested with all of them.
100%. So let's
Okay,
do it.
people.
Yep. See you in a week.
See ya.